Good morning, children. In this chapter, The Tree Lover, we got an idea regarding the author Ruskin Bond's love for nature and the time he spent during his childhood with his grandfather in Dehradun. The author says that his grandfather had been an ardent lover of the nature, and that's why he tried his level best to instill the same thing in his grandson, that is Ruskin Bond, the author. The author here represents himself as a small boy who had spent a lavish time with his grandfather, planting trees and enjoying his time. We have already completed a portion of the chapter, and today we got to start from page number 21. But let me give you a quick recap because there was a gap of 2 days, and I thought that maybe if you have not gone through the chapter, you might have forgotten a little bit about it. A quick recap. In this chapter, we just get to know about how the grandfather instills his or expresses his love for nature and makes the grandson also understand and develop the same feeling like him. Now, the grandfather has a love for planting trees, and in the first few pages of the chapter, we get to know that he, as well as grandmother, both have been planting trees. The grandfather's concern for planting trees was not only for within the four walls of the house or the compound of the house, he went to an extent beyond that reach and even tried to make the surroundings green. He loved planting trees not just for the sake of planting. He dreamt of a world which is green and life, full of life. He intended to plant trees so as to make space for the other life forms who equally depend on nature for their existence. Right? And that's why they kept on planting trees. Now we shall continue from the section we left on Friday, and we left at page number 20, last paragraph, last but one paragraph, wherein the author says that the narrator says that though they kept on planting trees throughout the year, no specified season, but the most beautiful time wherein they could see greenery or enjoy the greenery growing around was the monsoon time. They would carefully plant trees before the rains arrived and wait for the rains to add up to the greenery. During the monsoon, they would just see, the narrator says very beautifully, the monsoon season was the time for rambling about, moving around, have a leisure walk. And there was plenty to see around. They could see all sorts of plants growing from every crack and fissure. From wherever the seeds could germinate, take root, they would just creep out and they would start germinating from there. And not only in the wilds, even in the strangest place like the rooftop, the ceiling, from there also they could see the trees just taking roots, or on the window sill, the framework of the window outside, wherever the seeds could get a little bit of earth from wherein they could take roots, the plants would start growing from there. Now, at this point, Grandma's difference of opinion has been very beautifully explained. Let me start from where we had to continue. Page number 21, second paragraph onwards. Grandma would say, on one hand, when the narrator and his grandpa would love to see the greenery cropping up, or growing, sprouting out from unlikely places, Grandma would just restrict the joy. She would say that she was not against planting trees, but the fact was that she loved to keep the house also safe. She said that if you want to live in a tree, it's all right by me. Means I don't have any objection if you want to live in the greens. But for me, I like having a roof over my head, not a tree. I'm not going to have my roof brought down by the jungle. I won't allow the trees to grow on my roofs. And then one day everything would fall down. Then situations changed. When World War II came, I was sent to a boarding school on a hill station. During the holidays, I went to live in Delhi with my father. Herein, the narrator is speaking about the things that happened during the Second World War. And as he grew up, he was sent to a boarding school on a hill station. And then, during the holidays, I went to live in Delhi with my father, who was then serving in the Royal Air Force. And he told me that my grandparents had the house sold the house, the very same house wherein grandfather, the narrator, had spent a lot of time during his childhood days. He was then he had they had sent they had sold the house and they had been to move to England. 2 or 3 years later, I was sent to England and I was away from India for several years. So time passed by, and the narrator also continued with his education and he moved away from India, from his parents and grandparents, and he also moved to England for his final studies. But after gaining that, as a young man, I was in Dera again. And after visiting my grandfather's old house, remember the house wherein the narrator had spent a very nice time with his grandfather. So he went to visit that house. It hadn't changed much. I walked out of the town towards the riverbed out of his curiosity. The narrator wanted to see what had happened to those plants which they had grown in the riverside as well. It was the month of February, and as I looked across the dry watercourse, my eye was immediately caught by the spectacular red plums of the coral blossom. In contrast with the dry riverbed, the island was a small green paradise. I walked across to the trees over the fallen petals of the sweet scented magnolia blossoms and noticed that a number of squirrels had come to live in the bigger trees. So, children, do we remember? This is what the narrator's grandfather had told him, that we are not planting trees just for the sake of greenery or the ornamental purpose. Along with that, it is a great responsibility that we all need to fulfill towards the other life forms, the birds, the animals, and now the squirrels moving around and living in a safe atmosphere in those trees which once the narrator had grown, planted along with his grandpa was a very pleasant sight for the narrator. And a quail or a crow peasant challenged me with a mellow, "Who are you? Who are you?" This is the call. But the narrator says that even though these life forms who had made this beautiful setting a place for them to live in, the trees were the ones which they grew, and they started showing me, they seemed to be knowing me. They whispered among themselves and beckoned me nearer. Beckoned me nearer means called me closer to them. And looking around, I noticed that other small trees and wild plants and grasses had sprung up under the protection of the trees we had planted long ago. So, children, you saw how nature was making space and everybody was literally enjoying happy living in that beautiful surrounding. Yes, our trees had multiplied. They were walking again, and that is what I explained to you, that they do not have legs like you and me to walk around, but when they grow and multiply, this is how they show their movement. And they were not only those trees now having grown to their fuller extent over the riverbed and outside, but there were other plants that had started growing, cropping up under the green trees. So, yes, our trees had multiplied. They were walking again. In one small corner of the world, grandfather's dream had come true. So, seeing that greenery, the narrator cherishes the beautiful moments he had spent with his grandfather in the childhood time, long years back. Grandfather's dream had come true, and seeing that beautiful surrounding, the narrator says that at least if we could not add a greenery everywhere, in that beautiful setting, the immediate surrounding by the riverbed, there was greenery everywhere, and the trees were on the march. The trees were growing and multiplying. So, children, I'm sure you tended to understand the chapter. The chapter basically gives us an idea regarding our duties. It awakens us regarding our own duties towards adding up to the greenery. Remember, the narrator had said that he was told by his grandfather once when he was a small child, he was told that if we do not understand our responsibilities of planting trees and making space for the other life forms on this beautiful earth which we are sharing with the others, then no one can really help this world. And soon it will turn out to be a huge desert. So, this is what the narrator had been doing, and he was happy to see the beautiful, the lively fruits of greenery that had mushroomed up everywhere. So, this is how our responsibility is also to not simply cut off. Man has been selfish enough to make use of nature to fulfill all his needs in a reckless manner, uncontrolled manner. Now, man needs to realize one's responsibilities towards the Mother Earth as well. If we use the green for one purpose, it is our responsibility to grow, to plant more and more trees because we have certain responsibilities for our towards our upcoming generations as well. Now, we have I have given you a set of question and answers. No, more than that, a set of word meanings covering up every section of the chapter. I hope you try to understand it and learn it. It will help you to understand the chapter well. We shall now discuss the question answers of the chapter. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 to 7 word meanings given in the words to know section of your book. And below that, you got to jot down these and learn these as a part of your syllabus. Now, reading skills, let us start with that. Okay, page number 22. I hope you all have a pencil in your hand. Please carry a pencil in your hand and try to cover up this section. Complete the web chart which is given below by filling it how, according to grandfather, trees are important. According to grandfather, the narrator's grandfather, trees are essential for animals and birds. In what way are the trees essential for birds and animals? For A, you write to live, oblique, for shelter. For animals and birds, A, how are the trees important? They provide them shelter. And second is, B is to get food. And for the people, how are the trees necessary? How are the trees important? We human beings have million requirements, and many of these are fulfilled by this beautiful nature. We need trees and plants for fruits and flowers. A. B. Leaves and seeds. I hope you are following me, all of you. See, this web chart needs to be filled up. This web chart needs to be filled up. Okay. Yeah. So these we will be writing. We will be using a pencil to complete this work. I'm telling you, you just jot it down with me. For people, people need the trees for fruits and flowers. B, for leaves and seeds. C, for timber. Timber means wood. D, to keep the desert away. D, to keep the desert away. E, attract rain. D, E, attract rain. And F, stop soil erosion. Stop or avoid soil erosion. SOIL, erosion, washing away of the soil. EROSION. Stop or avoid soil erosion. We know that the roots of the trees hold the soil intact and do not allow them to be washed away by the water, the rain, or through any other source. Now, second section, complete these sentences. A. After he retired, grandfather spent his time doing what? Planting trees. Okay? Planting trees. Within his compound, within the compound of his bungalow, within the compound of his bungalow, oblique, garden area, and on the outskirts, on the outskirts, by the river bed, jungle, jungle. 10. Hope done? Grandfather knew a lot about trees. How did grandfather know so much about trees? Because he was an ardent, Ardent. He was a strong nature lover. He was a strong nature lover and he loved to plant trees and he loved to plant trees to increase the greenery, to increase the greenery and make space for and make space for all life forms. Make space for all life forms. Within bracket, you may mention, specify what type of life forms? Plants, animals, birds, insects, along with the human beings. Along with the human beings. Okay? C. Grandfather was planting trees because, again, we will repeat the same line which we had mentioned in the previous one. Because not only did he love, because not only did he love to plant trees, but was concerned, but was concerned about all life forms, about all life forms and their existence, and their existence. Right? Now move on to page number 23. Section reading skills 1 and 2 we will not be doing in the copy. Reading skills 1 and 2 we will not be doing in the copy. That is only book work and we will be using a pencil for all the book work. Now section 3, answer these questions. These questions I will forward you the answers in today's work and you need not be in a hurry to quickly jot down the answers now. You can do it after the classes today. Section 3, page number 20. Section 3, answer these questions. Question answers, I will forward you the notes. You just need to copy it down in your fair copy in a neat and clean manner. Is that clear? Now, okay. Now, section B, higher order thinking skills. Children, we may discuss it for our need, but these are not to be included for the examination. Why was grandfather liked so much by everyone? It's our it's our own understanding. Why did people love grandfather so much? Because he was concerned and he cared for everyone. Herein, the love is not only for the other fellow members of the family, but the other life forms. Remember, on the first scene, when grandfather was sitting on the veranda steps, even the tendril tended to move towards and touch grandpa's feet. The caterpillars would find it easy walking around his sleeves. The butterflies moved around him. The birds loved to be there and make him feel happy with their presence. The garden would become a lively place when Grandpa was also there along with the son. So, grandson. So that way you can see that all other life forms, not only the narrator, but all other life forms also loved grandfather as if they understood his love for them. Then, second, this is only for discussion and better understanding of the chapter. We will not be doing it in the copy. Question answers I will send you. You can copy it down neatly. Please use cursive handwriting. Some of you are forwarding me their notes. I'm very happy for that. But remember that we need to write in practice cursive writing. Okay, pattern handwriting. Now, grandfather's dream had come true, and the trees were on the march. The last line of the chapter. What did we find? What did grandfather wish for? How did his dream come true? Grandfather's dream was to see the greenery everywhere. And when the narrator grew up and he moved to those places wherein he and his grandfather happened to grow trees during their childhood, they saw that the trees had taken roots and grown to huge trees. Okay. So, this is how his dream, grandpa's dream to make this world, a beautiful place to live in with so much of greenery around came true. Okay. So, this is how the chapter comes to a close. Section D, what inspiration does the story give you? I ended the chapter with that. Okay, that it is our duty to see that the earth is a place fit for everyone, not only we human beings. Children, tomorrow on we shall again go back to grammar. Okay, we shall again go back to grammar. We shall continue with the chapter affirmative and negative sentences, right? Please refer to the notes which I am going to forward you now and jot it down in your fair reader, fair notes copy in an as it is manner. It answers, go by your habit. It's good. It makes the copy look beautiful, right? Okay. Have a nice day. Thank you very much, children.